Hello, you're watching BTVA's Business Nigeria for today, Tuesday, December 8th, and I am TUNJI Andrews. Tonight, we take a look at company shakeups in Nigeria. Who suffers the backlash, the elephant or the grass? We move on to the spate of job cuts amidst economic uncertainties. What is happening? We also talk to OLUJIMI TEWE, CEO at INSPIRO Consulting. And also, the CBN might just be giving in as it plans to devalue the naira, a subject many have been on for a while. Now, we also get to talk to Adetola Odukoya, Don Lauren Asset Management and Research. And later, we also get to touch major news out of the Nigerian business space, from the PIB to the 6 trillion naira 2016 national budget with Dolakbo Oni. When we return, all of this and more over the next 30 minutes. Do stay with us. Welcome back. We begin with the business news making the rounds today. Michael will be giving us the updates on that.
Thank you very much, Tunji. Now, for all the stories making headlines today, the Federal Executive Council, FEC, approved 6 trillion naira as 2016 budget. The Federal Executive Council has approved the medium-term expenditure framework, which pegs the 2016 budget at 6 trillion naira. Now, this is the outcome of the emergency Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The FEC called it an expansionist budget, which would be 1 trillion naira more than that of 2015. The federal government splits PIB, breaks NNPC into two. The federal government is breaking up the petroleum industry bill with a new draft that aims to split the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation in two, rather than a series of units. The two entities will include a national oil company that will be run on commercial lines and partly privatized, and the Nigerian Petroleum Assets Management Company. These, Reuters claimed it saw in a draft of the new bill. That's all on the headlines for today. Back to you, Tunji.
Thank you very much, Michael. Now, we take a look at the major shakeups in Nigeria, the decisions that made or marred these companies and how the businesses in Nigeria are managed, the peculiar situations around them. And in the case of MTN versus the NCC, that's the Nigerian Communications Commission, it involved a swift resignation of the CEOs for the group and the Nigerian business. On the show today, I have OLUJIMI TEWE, the CEO of INSPIRO Consulting, and ADEGBOYEGA OLATUNDE, BTVA's head of research. We're going to be looking at that story. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
For me, I think it's quite common in the Western world, right, to see a company fall into troubled waters, and the first person to go is the CEO. It doesn't happen in Nigeria. Is it that we have hereditary businesses, or it's kind of our birthright to just stay as the CEO, irrespective of what's going on within the company?
Personally, I think that you find a lot more of the businesses that are in more developed economies are publicly owned. So usually it's easier for those that are shareholders to call for the head. You know, but here, family owned or an individual, it's a bit difficult, to be honest, to say I'm the one who caused it and I have to go.
Okay, Boyega, Sifiso Babengwa out, Michael Ikpoki out, MTN had to leave,
Henry Semenitari,
he had to leave. That was Unity Bank. Also, Terry Turner, EcoBank, also had to leave. Yeah. But we see other cases in Nigeria where the CEO runs into troubled water, still stays put, even though it's a publicly quoted company. And you get to wonder why. But again, we hear that in foreign countries you have, what do they call them, activist investors who stand up to complain. But in the case of Oando, for instance, they had a monumental loss and the CEO still stayed put.
In Nigeria, based on laws, you have about just 25% a minimum of 25% of your shares traded. So the overall float is still largely going to be kept in the hands of the owners of the business in Nigeria. So those are some of the structural challenges you have. Now, you also do not have activist investors from the typical standpoint in developed economies where you have hedge funds who own 7 or 8 or 10% of the stock. You typically don't see that in Nigeria. If you actually did see that, where you had someone like a Carl Icahn who could come in and say, you know what, you did a very, very bad job, tender your resignation, let's find a way to move this company forward, or whatever, then you would probably see more corporate responsibility regarding management of companies.
Is it a culture thing, though? Because even at the end of the day, I mean, amnesia seems to take away the bad stays. We see Bob Diamond. We all know the LIBOR scandal. Bob is going around town being the hero cowboy of the financial industry. Yeah. But is it that we just don't want that space to come by, or it's something that our forefathers left in us as Nigerians?
Well, I think, again, once the structures, I mean, the way it's structured, that would generally determine how the market will flow, how things will flow. So I think that until you have a bit of change in that, in terms of corporate governance, because that really is what it begins to bother on. Until there's a change, we will still see this going on.
When is your company going public, by the way?
Very soon. All right.
So that we know when we can, we know when we can put you on the spot. Sure. And basically, but I mean, the MTN story is one that is interesting, and we'll continue to follow that. But I do know that it's one of those things we hope to see in Nigerian business space, where a CEO takes responsibility for what happened, whether he feels he was right or wrong. Yes. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, if you did do right, you would get a bonus.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, if there's something wrong with the company, then you should also take it. All right, so we're going on a short break. We're still going to have you with us because we're looking at other issues, but we're going to go on a short break, and we will look at the spate of job cuts amid economic uncertainties. TEWE will still be talking with us. Also, ADEGBOYEGA will still be with us. Do stay with us on the show. It's still Business Nigeria. And you're watching BTVA's Business Nigeria. I am still Tunji Andrews. Now, over 1.4 million jobs are reported to have been lost in the last 6 months in the country. That's according to sources that have been reaching us. We have seen capital flights in the absence of domestic investment in the country, continued decline in oil prices, and overall economic rigidity. What's going on in the economy? We'll be talking about that right now with Michael UCHEGBU, also joining us on the desk with Tosi Olaseinde, BTVA's senior researcher. Welcome to the show, guys. Now, we've been hearing a lot of talk about job losses. Yes, over the weekend, on Friday, there was a particular bank that laid off some of its staff. We've been hearing a lot of job losses in the oil and gas space. I mean, I put a tweet on Friday, or I think it was a Saturday, that I heard people had lost their jobs, and if anybody had lost their job, they should contact me. And I was just getting tons and tons of messages, people saying all sorts. They laid us off. They said they were going to call us back in, but we're still waiting. And you know, you can't take it away from the economic uncertainties, right? But is there a way that we can circumvent this circle? I mean, we can't continue having jobs go. I mean, we know that the economy is going down, but jobs can't continue to go down.
Well, but if the economy is going down, then jobs will go down. So the solution has to do with the economy.
So we have to fix the economy.
We have to, exactly.
But looking at the whole state around the fact that the president is moving in certain directions in terms of trying to stimulate the economy with about a ⁶ trillion naira budget, do you think that will help?
Obviously, it should. I don't know.
It should definitely trickle down into the economy. Like, for instance, they want to spend heavily on capital expenditure. Some people are touting the figures of 2 trillion naira. So imagine they put it into things like, let's say, railway, or they put it into healthcare. It sort of boils down to the man on the street, and we can see jobs being created. So now the question now is, will the money be channeled into those sectors, and will we see the traction that we're expecting?
But we've not, I mean, really, this is a trial phase, and this is a point where the economy is at a near shock period. Don't you think we should actually go for the things we're already used to, as against trying new things that might actually not work?
Tunji, in that respect, let's go for the low-hanging fruits. Everybody keeps touting agriculture. Agriculture posted a growth of about 3.47%. That was in the third quarter of 2015. And if you look at the other giants in the country as a whole, like China, its agriculture contributes 9.7%, while that of China contributes 17.9%. Can we look for the low-hanging fruits in that sector, like the processing industry that keeps to be on the low side? That can we fully utilize the different value chain and look at other sectors that can actually generate jobs quick? Those are things to look at.
1.4 million jobs, though.
Yeah, well,
that's massive.
It is.
I'm scared.
No. Well, the truth about it is, I think, as the response of the people that it was coming. I mean, this was clear. If you look at the job creation report about the Bureau of Statistics, it's even projected that in Q4 it will keep going down. And that's that. But interestingly, in Q3, you see that there was actually an increase in terms of number of jobs, which was driven, I think, by 90.2% by the informal sector. All right. And so we have to begin to look in that direction. And what we're calling informal, maybe that's the new formal.
Right. You know, possibly. Exactly. I mean, we should probably start creating our own definitions for some of these things. Sure. But Michael, there was some report you were following concerning infrastructure and development.
The Nigeria-China Railway Intervention Fund, and coming on that backdrop, finally, the Xi Jinping said he's going to be able to fund that some of the majority of the railway projects. And these things are spanning close to billions of dollars. And China says it would take full responsibility of majority amount of that particular
Tosi, I'm worried about this deal, though.
But why are you worried?
Because China is known for resource for infrastructure deals. That means you give us your resource, we give you infrastructure. I'm worried again because some of the time this doesn't generally translate into jobs because most of the people that are going to be working on those infrastructure are Chinese.
But that is the reason why we should look at the terms of contract. For instance, we look at interest rates. We also look at things like who are they giving the contractors? So we're looking at local content, indigenous players. We then should play a role in ensuring that the policy or the contract is actually in our favor. Those are the kind of things we should be looking at for.
Talking about contracts, this particular project that will soon be embarked by the Chinese people will be able to deliver close to about 200,000 jobs. And now they could be permanent or temporal, right?
Or even indirect jobs.
Then again, these are jobs. So these are the kind of arrangements that we really need to look at. The contracts, who are you bringing on board? Are you bringing expatriates or are these local technicians that you're bringing on board?
I mean, the other part I want to also look at is that China also did not grow in a day, and the companies that are going to be doing this are Chinese-owned. The workers that are going to come and do it are Chinese-owned. China is creating the funding. China is basically doing everything. And Nigeria seems to be similar in some respects, and hoping we can look in that direction. I just do not know. But yes, we were looking at manufacturing sector posted about 40,000 job losses between June and now. Shell Royal Dutch retrenched employees. Airtel laid off some employees too. And a third of Owando's upstream business, they lost their jobs also. Have you lost your job? Do get at us at BTVA Newsroom. Let us know how it is because we're trying to cover as much as the economy as it is concerns job losses going forward. But how do we take these people in? This 1.4 million people that have sort of been pushed into the labor market, how do we take them in?
I think that there has to be, first and foremost, I mean, because I interact with a number of them, there's a general, I mean, people are demotivated, and that usually happens. And the reason many times is because they don't have options put in front of them. Now, because we see that this will happen, we need to begin to look and identify what are these options, begin to skill people and direct them towards those options. So again, I'm going back to my informal sector jobs, right? Yeah. I mean, we should look at what, what it entails. Think about it this December. We know usually Christmas period is a lot of spending period. We know that typically. We know also now because of the FX issues that we have, there's not going to be a lot of importation like before. Therefore, you're still going to have a lot of demand, but who will supply that? That is an opportunity. But are people looking in that direction? So you call it informal. But I mean, there's somebody I met recently. I've not met her, heard about her. She is into pap production. And that's in Abuja, and I looked at her revenues, it's in over 100 million naira. All right, now, that would seem like it's not a big deal. I mean, why would I do pap? But she's doing it in a way that is well packaged, talking about processing and all that. So there are huge opportunities out there. I think we need to begin to direct Nigerians in that direction.
Well, thank you very much, guys. I do know that Tosi doesn't like pap, but I'm sure she'll be looking at that in terms of trying to, because I know she likes money. Thank you very much, guys, for being with us on the show. Thank you, Jimmy. And thank you, Michael, also for being with us. Tosi, beautiful red dress you're wearing there. We'll be going on a short break right now, and when we return, we'll be taking the rest of the show. Do stay with us.